If you've ever felt that ache, sitting with folded hands and a racing mind, wondering, is any of this working? That is part of the fallout of a broken world. Feeling stuck in prayer doesn't mean that you're a failure. It means you're standing in the tension of a story that Christ came to heal. My friend, let me ask you something that might feel a little vulnerable. When you pray, do you ever wonder if it actually matters? You show up, you whisper names, you cry out for your children and for the world, for your own weary heart. But sometimes it feels like your words just dissolve into air or bounce off the ceiling, and you're left wondering, did anything happen? You're not alone. In his chapter, In Whose Is This Image?, Andrew Murray makes a bold statement. Prayer isn't just devotion, it's destiny. That means prayer has never meant to be a little add on to the Christian life. It was designed to carry authority, to shape things, to matter in the real world. But if that's true, why does it feel so weak so much of the time? Somewhere along the way, humanity lost something, and in Christ, that something is being restored. Hi, I'm Rachel, and welcome to Sacred Spills. In this episode, we're going to walk through why prayer begins with who you are, not what you say, how prayer was tied to humanity's original calling, what went wrong, and what Jesus restored, and how you and I can actually live this out in ordinary days. So stay with me all the way through, because this might change how you pray and how you think about yourself before God. Before prayer is about asking, it's about belonging. Andrew Murray takes us to the scene where Jesus is handed a coin and asked, is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar? You remember his answer. Whose image is this? And they say, Caesar's. And he replies, render to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God. Murray presses that quote, whose image is this? Humanity was created in the image of God, not just to vaguely resemble him, but to represent him on earth, to be his visible presence in the invisible God's world. Prayer flows out of that identity. If I believe I'm a stranger or an orphan or a nuisance, my prayers will sound like begging. But if I believe I'm a beloved daughter or a beloved son carrying the image of my Father, my prayers begin to sound more like partnership. From the very beginning, prayer was meant to be the channel through which God's will flowed into creation. Not a religious performance, but a living connection between heaven and earth. So let me ask you, when you go to prayer, what names do you secretly carry for yourself? Unworthy, too late, too broken, too ordinary? You don't need to strive for authority in prayer. You simply need to remember who you are in Christ. Prayer becomes powerful when it comes from identity, not insecurity. When God created humans, he blessed them and he said, have dominion, fill the earth and subdue it. Murray points out that this wasn't independent rule, it was delegation of authority. Have you ever heard of the word viceroy? Viceroy is a word that Andrew Murray is using, but it's more or less like an ambassador for today's standards. The viceroy or ambassador, they don't rule on their own. They govern on behalf of the king or the authority members. That's the image. Humanity is entrusted with responsibility on earth under God's authority. And here's the key. Prayer was the means by which the dominion was meant to be exercised. Heaven's blessings were designed to flow through human asking, obedience, human agreement with God's will. So prayer isn't trying to twist God's arm. It's a way we are saying, yes, Lord. Yes, Lord, let it be done here, in this place, in this family, as it is in heaven. Whisper prayers over a kitchen sink, your tearful prayers beside a hospital bed, your stubborn, persevering prayers for your prodigal child. These are not small things. God chose prayer as the instrument through which he releases his will on earth. If that's stirring something in you, if you're thinking, I've never thought of prayer like this before, would you pause and like this video or share it with a friend who feels stuck in prayer? Sometimes a simple share is how God puts courage back into someone's heart. What went wrong with the loss of authority? If this design was so beautiful, why does prayer often feel so confused or powerless? Sin didn't just stain our record, it fractured our calling. The image of God in us was marred. Trust between heaven and earth was broken. Instead of walking in confident, obedient partnership, we began reacting. We prayed from fear rather than from faith. We prayed as if God were distant rather than present. Prayer shifted from, Father, what are you doing? Let me agree with you, to, God, are you even there? Are you even listening? If you've ever felt that ache, sitting with folded hands and a racing mind, wondering, is any of this working? That is part of the fallout of a broken world. Feeling stuck in prayer doesn't mean that you're a failure. It means you're standing in the tension of a story that Christ came to heal, is that Christ restores what was lost. Redemption doesn't just save, it restores purpose. In Jesus, the true image of God, humanity's calling is renewed. He is the perfect son, the perfect viceroy, the perfect man of prayer. And when you are in Christ, his relationship with the Father becomes the foundation of yours. Hebrews tells us that Jesus always lives to intercede for us. That means you never pray alone. The Spirit helps us in our weakness. Christ prays with us and through us. Prayer becomes partnership again. It shifts from, Lord, make my life comfortable, to, Lord, let your kingdom come through my life, whatever that requires. You are invited back into your original vocation, to bear God's image, to reflect his character, to join his intercession for the world he loves. You can approach the throne of grace with confidence, not because you're eloquent, but because you're hidden in the one whose prayers are always heard. And that brings us to our fifth point, that we're living out the restored calling. So what does this look like on a Tuesday afternoon? Andrew Murray talks about believing as royal priests. Those are two words we don't use much in our culture, but they are beautiful. Royal, you share in the king's authority. Priest, you stand in the gap for others. Prayer then becomes both intimate and missional. You bring your heart to God, and you also bring other people, other situations to him. This kind of prayer shifts the focus from fix me, fix me, fix me, to, Lord, let your life flow through me into my family, into my church, into my neighborhood, even into my enemies. It produces fruit. Peace that doesn't make sense on paper, courage to do small, faithful things, endurance when the answer is still not yet. A lot of that fruit no one will ever see, but heaven sees it, and eternity will reveal what your hidden prayers were doing all along. You don't need to pray perfectly. You need to pray faithfully. So here's what I'd love for you to do this week. Take one situation that has you anxious, a relationship, a decision, a news headline, and instead of praying from fear, pause and ask, Lord, what are you doing here? How can I agree with you in this situation? Then pray one simple aligning prayer. Something like, Father, let your kingdom come in this situation. Use me as your image bearer here in any way you desire. If you're willing to do that, let me know in the comments. What's one area where you want to start praying from identity instead of insecurity? Your words might encourage someone else who's reading. And if you'd like to keep going deeper into this kind of prayer, you can also subscribe to Sacred Spills. This is the journey we're on here. Ordinary people learning to live poured out with God. Prayer is not about convincing a reluctant God to act. It's about stepping back into the role you were created for. Next episode, And we will talk about chapter 19, which is I Go Unto the Father, or Power for Praying and Working. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Keep soft hearts, keep teachable spirits, and go in peace.